my mom doesn't watch this. Hi friends, it's me again. How are we doing? I've been seeing the book recommendation tag go around. I'm pretty sure Steph started it, and I got tagged by my lovely friend Tanya. If you have not checked her out, please. She is the love of my life, and she just started her booktube, so please go subscribe. Her recs are unmatched, especially for the girlies who love smut. So Tanya, love you. Thank you so much for tagging me. I'm excited. There are so many books that I thought about choosing for this video, but I finally narrowed it down. I believe there are 15 questions, so let's just get started. The first one is a book that you tell people is your favorite, and this comes as no shock to anyone, but People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I think the story is so precious. It literally made me sob. It's a book that just means so much to me when it comes to friendship and falling in love with your best friend. This is one of the first books I picked up when I started my reading journey back in 2021. To this day, it just really touches a part of my heart that I have not been able to let go of. I'm pretty sure this is Emily Henry's least liked book, at least from what I've seen. A lot of people prefer beach read book lovers over this, which there are still great books. Emily Henry will never disappoint, but this one, for me personally, it just sticks out every single time. Let's just throw it on the floor because I have nowhere else to put it right now. Second question is a book that is your guilty pleasure, and that's gonna be Give Me More by Sarah Kate. I don't really want to say it's a guilty pleasure because you should be able to indulge in things that make you happy without feeling guilty about it, fine. But this one, I say it's a guilty pleasure just because the smut in this, this is gonna sound really wrong to say, but this is like the best porn ever. This has some of my favorite smut scenes ever. Like, this is a book I read and I was crossing my legs. It's a book I go to a lot when I need to feel something. Hopefully my mom doesn't watch this. This also has a poly relationship in it, which I love. Y'all know I'm a why choose girly. Like, why have one when you can have multiple? And this one just really perfected that to me. It was so fun, but also so wholesome. I always tell people, like, the smut in this is ungodly, but it was also still cute as hell to me. So this for sure is my guilty pleasure. The next one is a book that everyone loved but you didn't, and I actually have two just because they're so popular, and when I read them it just did not hit for me. It's weird because to me they're not bad books. I think I rated both 3 stars, but every time I think about them I just get angry at what happened in the book because they had so much potential and then it was just ruined for me. So do not hate me when I hold up this book, okay? I love you. Book number 1 is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and book number 2 is Heartless by Elsie Silver. Oh, I feel so bad talking about them because I like both of these authors, but these books just make me viscerally angry. So I mentioned this before, but I just felt like Icebreaker catfished the hell out of me because what I was expecting going into this book, what everyone was telling me was gonna happen, was just so floppy to me. What sold me on picking up this book in the first place was that a hockey player was gonna help out a figure skater because of her partner getting injured, blah 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 blah. We only got that aspect of the plot for literally like 3 seconds. Also didn't really love the female main character. She frustrated me a lot just because I felt like for this female main character to be broadcasted as this strong FMC who only wants to focus on skating, like, she could not stand up for herself for me. Like, it pissed me off. The whole thing with her and her skating partner made me see red because I'm like, girl, why are you, stand up, what are you doing? So this one was long. I found myself getting really bored. I found myself not caring about the couple at all, and then the epilogue I hated, which is wild because it's the epilogue. It was just one of those books where I'm like, this is it, this is what, okay. So, and then we have Heartless. This one breaks my heart because I loved Flawless by Elsie Silver, the first book in the series, and I was expecting to like this one. This had a lot of tropes that usually feeds me, but the third act conflict in this pissed me off. This has a trope that I feel like should be a trigger warning at this point for me because I just hated how it was done. I was not obsessed with the relationship. I mentioned this before, but the relationship just gave me the ick. He's almost 40. I think she's like 25, and to me she acted like a fucking 13-year-old. The smut was great. Smut was hot. Elsie Silver will write great smut, but the story itself, what ended up happening, just really ruined the book for me. Sorry to be one of those girlies, but I just did not like that happened, and I already didn't love the character, so it was something that I just couldn't forgive. Every time I see this book it makes me sad because it's so popular and everyone's favorite, and it just did not hit for me at all. Like, every time I look at this book I just see red. So I'm sorry, but just remember that I love you, and if you love these books, I love you even more because I could not get through them with a straight face. They make me very upset. So The next one is a book you read the fastest, and that's going to be When Villains Rise by Gianna Darling. This is part of a duet. It was so interesting to me because the first book in this series I felt like I read at a snail's pace. It was just a lot of world building, I want to say. Like, they had to really set up the plot, which I really commend Gianna Darling for doing. It was very thought out, but the first one didn't really sell me. The second one from the first page started off insane. Like, it was so good. I literally remember reading this in one sitting. I stayed in bed all day just reading this book on my Kindle. My eyes hurt when I was done, but I was super obsessed with Elena and Dante. Literally a power couple. They were so hot. There was always action, always drama, always touch her and you will die kind of things, which I eat up every time. And the love story itself, the way that he loved her and took care of her. Also, Elena, one of my favorite FMCs ever. She was such a baddie. I definitely recommend this duology. It was spectacular. The next one is a book that deserves more hype, and I'm gonna choose Sunny Disposition by Deanna Gray. This is also one of the books that I finished in like one sitting. It's super short, but I just really like the story in this. This one was just so different to me because it's about a hockey player and a streamer, so they never met at first, and then the night that they were supposed to meet, he ends up getting into a fight that gives him amnesia. Then they end up being roommates, so it's forced proximity, and it was just so cute. I don't know what it is about it, but I just had such a good time reading it. This was a super quick read. I felt like the hockey that took place in this was done spectacularly. Like, you could tell that they were actually hockey players and they knew what they were talking about. Deanna Gray is one of the authors that I really love, that I stumbled across, and I just think this book deserves more love. Question number 6 is a book that's becoming a movie, and I feel like I can't keep up with this anymore because there are so many books becoming a movie. But we have People We Meet on Vacation, The Spanish Love Deception, It Happened One Summer, Praise. Like, I don't know how some of these movies are going to be done, honestly. Like, I think I'm at a point where I'm tired of film companies picking up book rights because 9 times out of 10 they don't do them justice. Oh, One True Loves, apparently that's getting a movie too, which is wild. So I'm excited to see how it's going to play out, but also I'm not going to be surprised if they're flops because usually they kind of are, for me at least. Number 7 is a book that you reread the most, and that is going to be Saint by Sierra Simone. Y'all know that this was my #1 read of 2022. It's so beautiful. Like, I cannot get over these characters and the tiny little things that they did for each other. This one just hit me hard. It's such a beautiful story that really conveys depression and how it hits people differently and how they cope with it differently, and the romance in this. Elijah and Aiden really have my heart. Like, talking about it makes my eyes water, so let's just move on because I don't want to cry yet. Number 8 is a book from a genre that you don't typically read. This one was kind of hard for me because y'all know that I am strictly a romance girly. Like, I haven't ventured out with much, but the closest book I think came to it was Daisy Jones and the Six, just because it's not really a romance. This falls way more under historical fiction, women's fiction. When I think of Daisy Jones and the Six, romance isn't the first thing that comes to mind. That's how I am with a lot of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. So this is the closest I'm gonna get to books that are out of my genre, which is just strictly romance at this point. It's a book that I adore, and I definitely sobbed reading this. It's phenomenal. So 9 is a book that deserves all the hype it gets, and y'all, say hello to my current hyperfixation, which is The Right Move by Liz Tom Ford. This is the 2nd book in the Windy City series. I have not talked about this series just yet. I will talk about it in one of my wrap-ups in the future, but I ate this book alive. I loved Mile High. That was a pretty solid book, but this one completely blew me away. The characters in this are my favorite people ever. Me and Indy, that's my girl. And Ryan Shea, when I tell y'all that after I finished this book, I literally stared at the ceiling and just sobbed because these characters aren't real, because Ryan Shea is my dream man and I feel like I will never ever find him. So just reading this and seeing all the things that he did for her, the way he loved her, the way that he got out of his comfort zone for her specifically, don't talk to me. Literally one of my most tabbed books, I would say, and I am obsessed. I have not stopped thinking about this since I read it. It's so good. This is definitely one of the books that deserves all the hype it's getting. I will not hear any slander at all. Don't piss me off. 10 is a book that you usually recommend when asked, and this one is also kind of difficult for me because my thing when recommending a book is what are you in the mood for? Because if you are a thriller, fantasy girly, I have nothing for you, right? So the last thing I want to do is give someone a book rec and then they come back like that book was ass, and I'm like, excuse me. Reading is just so subjective, and I'm always scared that I'm gonna give someone a book rec that they hate. Meanwhile, it's one of my favorite books ever. So I usually gatekeep my favorite books when I recommend anything, but lately this has been the book I tell people they definitely should read just because it's so cute, rom-com-y, and it's beautiful. That book is A Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This also made it into my top 10 reads of the year last year, and this story, these characters, the audiobook, It's a book that I picked up not expecting to love as much, which makes me love it even more. Pick up this damn book if you haven't. The girlies are not lying about this one, I promise. And the audiobook, phenomenal. It's Julia Whalen and Zachary Weber, which are my parents at this point. Highly recommend. Highly, highly recommend. 11 is the book that has your favorite characters. I'm gonna go with the Addicted series and the Dreamland Billionaire series because these are two of my favorite series ever. And the characters in these just really hit home for me. Like, I love that each book, especially when you're following a different character, like you're getting so much more of other characters as well. I especially liked it in the Addicted Calloway Sister series because y'all know when I started this, I was very iffy about it. I was like, don't know if I like it. The minute I got to later books and I just saw so much more from other characters and how much they were able to grow, this really sold me. Every time I think of the core six, I get so emotional because these characters went through hell, okay, but they still came out on top. They came out a family, everyone was okay. And then with the Dreamland Billionaire series, this one is just magic to me. Like, it's so fun. The plot of these books is also so creative and cool to me. I really love seeing how much Lauren Asher's writing has grown because I've read all of her books, and this book specifically, it's my favorite thing she's ever written. So I love going on a journey with an indie author. This one made me so emotional when I finished because the Dreamland Billionaire series was the first series I really talked about when I started my book talk and booktube and stuff. So when it ended, it hurt. Also, Iris Kane, that's all I need to say. Like, these characters are phenomenal. They're my absolute favorites and I miss them every single day. I need another book. Number 12 is A Book You Wish You Could Live In, and I'm gonna hold up Juniper Hill by Debney Perry because listen, I grew up in a big city. The smallest town I've ever lived in was when I went to college in the middle of nowhere, and I loved it. So sometimes just getting a book about small towns, country vibes, it really makes me want to just live in the middle of nowhere forever and find a hot country boy, like a hot rancher, and just do domestic shit with him. So I get that a lot in the Eden series by Debney Perry, a lot of small town romance books, honestly. So if I could pick one just to have that moment for myself of country girl, small town living, it would be something written by Debney Perry for sure. I want to live in a small town just to fulfill that need in me. And this book is also perfection, like Knox Eden. 13 is A Book That You Thought You Would Hate But Ended Up Loving, and that is gonna be Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Y'all, I was so scared to pick up this book just because I heard about all the tropes and everyone said it reminded them of Gossip Girl, and if you watch Gossip Girl, you already know the bullshit that happens. And me personally, sometimes I love drama and angst, but sometimes it also pisses me off. This book pissed me off, but I also loved it. This is a series that I had to really sit with and process, and I love those kind of books where it's like you're not rushing to rate it just yet. Like, you want to actually sit and think about how it made you feel, and each book after this just got 10 times better. You really start to love the characters and put up with all the drama and bullshit that they go through. So was not expecting to like this at all because there was a lot of bullshit that happened in this, y'all. Like, it made me so angry, but it was also so good. Like, I was eating this book up. So I don't know what that says about me, but yeah, did not expect to love this as much as I do, but here I am. 14 is A Book That Made You Cry, and that's gonna be Sinner by Sierra Simone. What's interesting about this one is I listened to it on audio, and usually I don't cry when I listen to books on audio. Like, it takes a lot, but this one, sob. It made the story hit that much harder for me because if I'm listening to the audio and the narrator conveys those types of emotions that get me to cry, this book is also just special to me because it made me realize that I had so much healing to do that I didn't know I needed healing from. I read this and I was just amazed at how much I could relate to Sean Bell and everything that he went through. And it's also one of those books that every time I talk about it, I just get so emotional. Hence the "this book made me cry" question. It's so freaking good and one of my ultimate favorites. Sean Bell is also hot as fuck, so the smut in this, Jesus Christ. And the last question is A Book That You Wish You Could Read for the First Time, and that's gonna be the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey. I was so obsessed with these characters, and also this is just one of those books where I saw it playing out in my head. It literally felt like I was watching a TV show. It's so dark though, so please check up trigger warnings, but Lana Myers, my queen, one of my favorite FMCs ever, and I just really had such a good time with this book. Like, I flew through it. I was super obsessed. Afterwards I cried no one's surprised there. But it's just one of those books where the characters kind of sneak up on you. Like, you go in expecting one thing, and then how it plays out is just like, I really wish I could read this for the first time just to go through all of those emotions, because y'all, they always ended on a cliffhanger too, so it's such an easy read and you'll be surprised at how quickly you actually finish the entire series. So yeah, this one I just had such a good time with. Definitely recommend, but please check up trigger warnings. Check up trigger warnings for every single book that I talked about. All right, besties, that is the end. Thank you again to Steph for making this tag, and thank you to Tanya for actually tagging me. I had a good time going through all the books that mean a lot to me, and I hope you all got some good recs. Please pick up some of these books if you haven't yet. They are phenomenal, at least to me. As usual, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like me, please subscribe, and I will see y'all next time. Mwah.